What happens when Hollywood's most beloved superstar loses 5 million Instagram followers in just 5 months? What causes a man who once seemed untouchable, whose smile could light up arenas and whose catchphrases became global phenomena, to suddenly find himself at the center of controversy after controversy? Today, we're diving deep into the incredible and complex story of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, a tale that spans from wrestling rings to Hollywood blockbusters, from inspirational social media posts to heated public feuds, and ultimately reveals how even the most carefully crafted celebrity image can crack under the weight of its own contradictions. This isn't just a story about one man's fall from grace, it's a masterclass in how modern celebrity culture works, how audiences form emotional connections with public figures, and what happens when those connections are tested by perceived betrayals and mounting questions about authenticity. To understand Johnson's current challenges, we must first appreciate the extraordinary heights from which he has fallen. Dwayne Johnson's journey to superstardom began in the most unlikely of places: professional wrestling, an industry often dismissed by mainstream entertainment but one that would provide him with a perfect training ground for everything that would follow. In 1996, a young Johnson entered the World Wrestling Entertainment arena as Rock Maui, a character designed to be the perfect babyface hero, clean-cut, respectful, and entirely wholesome. However, wrestling audiences, known for their brutal honesty and resistance to manufactured personas, immediately rejected this version of Johnson. Night after night, arenas would echo with chants of "Rocky sucks" and "Die Rocky die," creating what could have been a career-ending situation for most performers. But Johnson possessed something that would define his entire career: an almost supernatural ability to read his audience and transform himself accordingly. Rather than retreat from the criticism, Johnson embraced it, completely reinventing himself as The Rock, a trash-talking, eyebrow-raising, electrifying persona who commanded attention through sheer charisma and perfectly timed one-liners. His catchphrases like "Can you smell what The Rock is cooking?" and "Know your role and shut your mouth" became cultural phenomena that transcended wrestling. The Rock didn't just entertain audiences, he made them feel like they were part of something special, something electric. His promos were masterclasses in crowd psychology, his matches were theatrical experiences, and his presence transformed any arena into a temple of entertainment. Within just a few years, Johnson had become not just a wrestling superstar but a legitimate cultural icon whose influence extended far beyond the squared circle. The transition from wrestling to Hollywood, however, proved to be Johnson's greatest test yet. When he announced his intentions to pursue acting seriously, the entertainment industry was skeptical. Wrestling had produced few legitimate crossover stars, and many viewed professional wrestlers as athletes playing characters rather than genuine performers capable of dramatic range. Johnson's early film efforts seemed to confirm these doubts. Movies like The Scorpion King in 2002 and The Rundown in 2003, while financially successful, received lukewarm critical reception. Critics consistently pointed to Johnson's apparent inability to escape his wrestling persona, suggesting that he was simply playing The Rock in different costumes rather than truly inhabiting new characters. The transformation came gradually, then suddenly. Johnson began working with acting coaches, studying the craft seriously, and most importantly, learning to modulate his larger-than-life personality for the camera. The breakthrough moment arrived in 2011 with Fast 5, where Johnson's portrayal of Luke Hobbs proved that he could not only hold his own alongside established action stars but actually elevate the material around him. His performance brought a perfect balance of intensity, humor, and humanity that audiences had rarely seen from action heroes. The film's massive success, earning over $626 million worldwide, established Johnson as a legitimate A-list actor and box office draw. What followed was nothing short of remarkable. Johnson became Hollywood's most reliable leading man, capable of opening movies across multiple genres. Whether he was playing a primatologist in Rampage, a building security expert in Skyscraper, or reprising his role in the Fast and Furious franchise, audiences consistently showed up. His films regularly grossed hundreds of millions of dollars worldwide, and he commanded salaries that placed him among the highest-paid actors in Hollywood. More than just box office success, Johnson cultivated an image as Hollywood's hardest worker, constantly posting behind-the-scenes content that showed him arriving at gyms at 4 a.m., pushing through grueling workout sessions, and maintaining a positive attitude despite exhausting schedules. This image of relentless positivity and work ethic became Johnson's brand, extending far beyond his film career. His social media presence transformed him into a motivational figure for millions of followers worldwide. His Instagram posts, featuring gym sessions tagged with #HardestTwerkRintheroom, inspirational quotes about overcoming adversity, and glimpses into his family life, created a parasocial relationship with fans who felt they knew the real Dwayne Johnson. He wasn't just an entertainer, he was a role model, a symbol of what American success could look like when combined with humility, gratitude, and an unshakable work ethic. However, this carefully constructed image began showing cracks in 2016, when Johnson made a decision that would fundamentally alter how many fans perceived him. During the filming of The Fate of the Furious, Johnson posted an Instagram message that sent shockwaves through Hollywood and his fanbase. Without naming specific individuals, he criticized his male co-stars for unprofessional behavior, describing some as candy asses, and suggesting that their conduct on set was unacceptable. While Johnson never explicitly named Vin Diesel, industry insiders and fans immediately understood the target of his criticism. The post was unprecedented for Johnson, whose public persona had been built on positivity and team-first mentality. Suddenly, fans were seeing a different side of their hero, someone willing to air dirty laundry publicly, someone whose ego might be larger than his carefully crafted humble image suggested. The situation became more complicated when reports emerged about Johnson's contract demands for the film, including stipulations about never losing fights on screen and receiving equal billing and screen time with franchise veteran Vin Diesel. These revelations painted a picture of an actor who, despite his public image of gratitude and teamwork, was privately demanding special treatment that elevated him above his colleagues. The Fast and Furious franchise had been built on themes of family, loyalty, and collective heroism, making Johnson's apparent star demands seem particularly contradictory. Fans who had invested emotionally in his humble, team player persona felt betrayed. Social media erupted with discussions about whether Johnson was truly the person he presented himself to be, or whether his public image was simply another carefully managed performance. The actor quickly deleted the controversial post and released a video emphasizing unity and respect, but the damage to his reputation had already begun. This incident marked a turning point in how Johnson's public behavior was scrutinized. Every social media post, every interview, every public appearance began to be analyzed for signs of inauthenticity or calculated brand management. It was in this context that what became known as the In-N-Out Burger saga unfolded, revealing the extent to which Johnson's public image had become disconnected from reality. Between 2017 and 2023, Johnson posted multiple times about experiencing In-N-Out Burger for the first time, each occasion documented with enthusiastic videos and photos that portrayed genuine excitement about trying the popular California chain. In 2017, he posted a picture with text claiming he had never been to In-N-Out. In 2022, he shared a video declaring that this represented his first experience with a restaurant, explaining that while he had purchased food from In-N-Out for friends previously, he had never actually tried himself. The performance was convincing. Johnson appeared genuinely excited, asked questions about menu items, and praised the experience with the enthusiasm of someone making a genuine discovery. By December 2023, Johnson posted yet another first-time In-N-Out experience, this time emphasizing his unfamiliarity with the ordering process and making a point of leaving what he described as a generous tip. The repetitive nature of these posts might have gone unnoticed, but social media users began connecting the dots. Popular content creators, including YouTuber Penguin Zero, created detailed videos exposing the contradiction, showing Johnson's multiple first-time claims side by side. The video garnered millions of views and sparked widespread discussion about the authenticity of Johnson's social media presence. The In-N-Out incident, while seemingly trivial, revealed something more troubling to fans: the extent to which Johnson's public persona had become a performance designed to generate engagement and promote his various business interests. Every authentic moment was potentially staged, every spontaneous interaction potentially scripted for maximum impact. Fans began to feel manipulated, realizing that they had been emotionally investing in what was essentially an elaborate marketing campaign. Johnson's response to the controversy was telling. Rather than acknowledging the contradiction directly, he edited his post to add a disclaimer thanking fans for reminding him about his previous In-N-Out experiences, claiming he had totally forgot about earlier visits. The explanation felt hollow to many observers, particularly given the detailed nature of his previous posts about the restaurant. How could someone forget multiple documented experiences that they had presented as significant enough to share with millions of followers? The burger controversy opened floodgates for examination of other aspects of Johnson's public image, particularly his fitness regime and physique. At 51 years old, Johnson maintained a physique that seemed to defy natural aging processes. His social media consistently featured workout videos showing him training with extraordinary intensity, often at 4 a.m., accompanied by motivational captions about hard work and dedication. He regularly claimed to consume between 6,000 and 8,000 calories daily to maintain his massive musculature, presenting this as evidence of his superhuman work ethic and discipline. However, fitness experts and nutrition specialists began questioning these claims publicly. Certified trainers pointed out that consuming 8,000 calories daily while maintaining Johnson's lean physique would be virtually impossible without pharmaceutical assistance. The mathematics simply didn't support his claims. Even with his size and activity level, such caloric intake would result in significant fat gain unless offset by factors Johnson wasn't discussing publicly. His published diet plans, featuring primarily cod, rice, and vegetables, totaled approximately 3,000 calories, nowhere near his claimed intake. Fitness commentator Greg Doucette became one of the most vocal critics, analyzing Johnson's workout videos and pointing out inconsistencies between the claimed intensity and the actual weights being lifted. In one widely circulated analysis, Doucette showed footage of Johnson appearing to strain significantly while performing squats with what amounted to relatively light weight for someone of his size and claimed strength level. The performance seemed designed to create an impression of extreme effort that didn't match the actual physical demands of the exercise. The steroid question, long whispered about in fitness communities, became impossible to ignore. Johnson had consistently claimed that his only experience with performance-enhancing drugs occurred at age 18, describing it as a brief experiment he quickly abandoned. However, the evidence contradicted this narrative. Rather than showing the natural decline in muscle mass and definition that typically accompanies aging, Johnson's physique had actually improved throughout his 40s and 50s. His muscle mass appeared greater, his body fat percentage lower, and his overall condition superior to photos from his younger years. Medical experts and former athletes began weighing in publicly. Eddie Hall suggested Johnson might be using testosterone replacement therapy, a legal medical treatment that could help maintain muscle mass and energy levels. However, Joe Rogan was more direct, stating flatly that Johnson's physique couldn't be achieved through TRT alone. Fitness expert Greg Doucette went further, suggesting that Johnson was likely using comprehensive pharmaceutical assistance, the kitchen sink approach that utilized multiple compounds to achieve his results. The implications of these revelations extended far beyond Johnson personally. For years, he had sold products and promoted a philosophy based on the idea that extraordinary results could be achieved through extraordinary effort alone. His protein powders, energy drinks, and motivational content all carried the implicit message that his physique and energy levels were attainable through dedication and hard work. If these achievements actually required pharmaceutical assistance that he wasn't acknowledging, then millions of fans had been sold an impossible dream. The fitness controversy coincided with Johnson's most significant professional misstep, the release of Black Adam, in 2022. This project represented Johnson's biggest gamble, an attempt to establish himself as the cornerstone of a new DC Comics cinematic universe. Beyond starring in the film, Johnson served as producer, giving him unprecedented control over the project's development and marketing. He promoted Black Adam as a game-changing entry that would revolutionize superhero cinema and establish his character as DC's answer to Marvel's most popular heroes. The marketing campaign was massive, with Johnson using his social media reach and media appearances to build anticipation for what he promised would be a paradigm shift in superhero entertainment. His confidence was infectious, and fans invested emotionally in the project's success, viewing it as validation of Johnson's transition from wrestler to legitimate Hollywood powerhouse. The film's performance, however, told a different story. Black Adam grossed approximately $393 million worldwide against a production and marketing budget of $260 million. Industry analysts calculated that the film needed to earn at least $600 million to achieve profitability, making it a significant financial disappointment. Rather than acknowledging this reality, Johnson began promoting alternative narratives about the film's performance. Through selective media leaks and social media posts, Johnson claimed that Black Adam would ultimately prove profitable through streaming deals and ancillary revenue streams. He shared articles suggesting the film would generate $52 to $72 million in additional profit, directly contradicting industry reports of $50 to $100 million in losses. When entertainment trade publications challenged these figures, Johnson doubled down, suggesting that critics and industry insiders were deliberately misrepresenting the film's success. The Black Adam controversy revealed another troubling aspect of Johnson's evolving persona, his apparent inability to accept failure or criticism. Rather than acknowledging disappointment and moving forward, he engaged in what many perceived as deliberate misinformation about the film's performance. Fans and industry professionals felt insulted by the suggestion that they couldn't understand basic box office mathematics. This pattern of avoiding accountability became more apparent during several high-profile controversies that tested Johnson's previously unshakable public image. When podcast host Joe Rogan faced criticism for his use of racial slurs in old episodes, Johnson initially posted strong support for his friend, praising Rogan's character and expressing excitement about appearing on his show. However, when the public response proved overwhelmingly negative, Johnson quickly backtracked, posting an apology claiming he hadn't been fully aware of the situation when he made his initial statement. The rapid reversal revealed a concerning pattern. Johnson's positions on controversial topics seemed to shift based on public reaction rather than personal conviction. When appearing on Rogan's podcast, his behavior seemed to confirm critics who suggested he lacked authentic viewpoints on important issues. Rather than engaging in meaningful conversation, Johnson dominated the discussion with surface-level questions and avoided any topics that might generate controversy or reveal his actual opinions on complex issues. The Maui wildfire fundraising campaign provided another example of Johnson's disconnect from public sentiment. When devastating fires destroyed large portions of Maui, Johnson partnered with Oprah Winfrey to launch the People's Fund of Maui. While both celebrities made personal donations of $5 million, they also solicited contributions from the general public, including people who might be struggling financially themselves. The optics were terrible. Two individuals with combined wealth estimated in the hundreds of millions asking working-class people to donate to disaster relief struck many as tone-deaf at best, manipulative at worst. Critics pointed out that Johnson could have single-handedly funded significant relief efforts without impacting his lifestyle, yet chose to crowdsource assistance instead. When faced with this criticism, Johnson posted another apology video acknowledging that he could have done better and promising to be better next time. These apologies began following a predictable pattern that further eroded Johnson's credibility. Each followed the same formula: acknowledgement of criticism, acceptance of responsibility, and promises of future improvement, but without concrete changes or genuine accountability. Fans began to see these responses as damage control, rather than authentic remorse or growth. The final blow to Johnson's reputation came when he returned to his roots, World Wrestling Entertainment. In January 2024, Johnson joined WWE's board of directors, positioning the move as a desire to give back to the industry that launched his career. His return was initially celebrated by wrestling fans who remembered his legendary matches and charismatic performances from decades earlier. However, the celebration was short-lived. Just 10 days after joining the board, Johnson inserted himself into WWE's most important storyline, the main event of WrestleMania 40. The original plan had Cody Rhodes, a beloved young wrestler who had won the Royal Rumble, challenging Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship. This storyline had been building for months, with fans emotionally invested in Rhodes' journey to achieve his first WWE title. Johnson's involvement changed everything. Suddenly, Rhodes announced he would be stepping aside to allow Johnson to face Reigns instead, a decision that appeared to be influenced by Johnson's new corporate role rather than creative storytelling considerations. The promotional video for this new match became one of the most disliked videos in WWE history, accumulating over 700,000 negative reactions as fans expressed outrage at what they perceived as corporate manipulation of their entertainment. The wrestling community's reaction was swift and brutal. Fans who had once idolized Johnson now saw him as someone who used his power and influence to steal opportunities from more deserving performers. The hashtag Cody Deserves Better went viral, with thousands of posts criticizing Johnson for prioritizing his own interests over the fans' investment in ongoing storylines. Even more damaging were the reactions from current WWE performers, many of whom had grown up watching Johnson and considered him a role model. Several wrestlers, including Seth Rollins, publicly criticized the decision, suggesting that Johnson's actions showed disrespect for the current generation of performers who had dedicated years to building their careers and connecting with audiences. The backlash was so intense that WWE was forced to reverse course. Within weeks, the company rewrote its storylines to give Rhodes his championship opportunity while repositioning Johnson in a different match. Johnson attempted to frame this as part of a larger plan to create dramatic tension, but fans weren't buying the explanation. The damage had been done. Johnson was no longer seen as someone who respected the business that made him famous, but rather as someone willing to exploit his position for personal gain. The cumulative effect of these controversies was devastating for Johnson's public image. His Instagram following, which had grown consistently for years and reached over 400 million at its peak, began declining rapidly. Reports suggested he was losing thousands of followers hourly, an unprecedented reversal for someone who had been gaining millions monthly just a year earlier. More significantly, his upcoming film projects began facing delays and cancellations as studios reassessed his box office value in light of his declining popularity. The entertainment industry, which had once viewed Johnson as one of its most reliable assets, began treating him more cautiously. His name, which had been synonymous with guaranteed success and positive publicity, was now associated with controversy and declining fan engagement. The transformation was remarkable in its speed and completeness. Within less than 2 years, Johnson had gone from untouchable superstar to celebrity facing serious questions about his future viability. What made Johnson's fall particularly notable was how it illustrated the changing relationship between celebrities and their audiences in the social media age. Unlike previous generations of stars who could maintain distance and mystique, modern celebrities must constantly engage with fans through social platforms, creating intimate relationships that can quickly turn toxic when trust is broken. Johnson's carefully crafted image of authenticity and relatability made his perceived betrayals feel personal to fans who had invested emotionally in his success. The speed of information spread in digital culture also accelerated Johnson's problems. What might have been isolated incidents in previous decades became interconnected narratives that reinforced each other. The in-and-out controversy connected to questions about his fitness claims, which connected to concerns about his business practices, which connected to disappointment about his film projects, creating a comprehensive critique of his entire public persona. Perhaps most significantly, Johnson's experience demonstrates the limitations of treating celebrity as a brand rather than a human experience. His apparent focus on maintaining a perfect public image prevented him from acknowledging mistakes, showing vulnerability, or demonstrating the kind of authentic growth that might have maintained fan loyalty. Instead of being seen as a person who occasionally made poor decisions, he became viewed as a corporation trying to manipulate consumer behavior. The question facing Johnson now is whether recovery is possible, and what form it might take. Some entertainment analysts suggest that his core fan base remains loyal and that the controversies will fade with time and successful projects. Others argue that the damage is too comprehensive, that modern audiences are too sophisticated to be fooled by image rehabilitation efforts. What seems clear is that any comeback would require Johnson to fundamentally reassess his approach to public engagement. Rather than trying to maintain the perfect image that ultimately proved unsustainable, he might need to embrace the kind of authentic humanity that allows for mistakes, growth, and genuine connection with audiences. This would mean acknowledging past errors directly rather than through carefully crafted apologies, showing vulnerability rather than constant strength, and prioritizing genuine artistic and charitable work over brand management. The broader implications of Johnson's story extend beyond one celebrity's career trajectory. His experience serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of treating human beings as brands, the impossibility of maintaining perfect images indefinitely, and the importance of authentic connection in an age of increasing skepticism about celebrity culture. For other public figures, Johnson's fall demonstrates that audiences value honesty over perfection, that trust once broken is extremely difficult to rebuild, and that the same social media platforms that can elevate celebrities can also destroy them with remarkable efficiency. As Johnson navigates this challenging period, the entertainment industry and his fans worldwide will be watching to see whether one of the most successful crossover stars in history can reinvent himself once again, this time not as a larger-than-life character but as a genuine human being worthy of respect and admiration. The stakes couldn't be higher, not just for Johnson's career, but for what his story tells us about celebrity, authenticity, and human connection in the digital age.